The second phone was buzzing like an angry wasp in Elena's gym bag when I found it. Thursday night, 10:30 p.m., and my loving wife was supposedly teaching her advanced Pilates class at the studio. Again. For the fourth time this week. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Nick Ralston, 38 years old, and apparently the biggest fool in Portland, Maine's most gossip-hungry suburb. While I've been building IT systems for local businesses, my wife Elena has been building something else entirely, a double life that would make a spy jealous. The phone's screen lit up with a text from B-Money. Can't wait to see you tomorrow, gorgeous. Wear that red thing I bought you. My coffee mug hit the kitchen counter harder than I intended. Elena and I had been married for 8 years. 8 years of her complaining about money, 8 years of her saying we couldn't afford vacations or nice dinners out. Yet somehow she had expensive workout clothes, professional manicures, and apparently a secret phone plan. I unlocked the device. Elena never was good with passwords, still using our wedding date for everything. What I found made my stomach drop through the floor. Photos, videos, an OnlyFans account with over 3,000 subscribers, text conversations with Brent Callahan that would make a sailor blush, and a calendar full of private sessions that had nothing to do with Pilates. Brent Callahan. I knew that name. Local real estate hotshot with the flashy BMW and the gym membership he never stopped talking about at the bar. The same guy who always made jokes about lonely housewives needing personal attention. My hands shook as I scrolled through months of messages. They'd been planning this for over a year. Elena complaining about me, calling me boring and clueless. Brent promising to take care of her once she got rid of the burden. The front door opened. Elena's voice drifted through the house. Nick, why are you still up? I slipped the phone back into her bag and grabbed my coffee, forcing my face into neutral. Couldn't sleep? How was class? She appeared in the kitchen doorway, yoga mat slung over her shoulder, hair perfectly styled for someone who'd supposedly been exercising for 2 hours. Exhausting. These new students don't understand proper form. I bet they don't. I studied her face, looking for tells. The slight flush on her cheeks wasn't from Pilates. Find any new positions tonight? Very funny. She kissed my cheek, her perfume stronger than usual. I'm going to shower. Don't wait up. As her footsteps faded upstairs, I pulled out my own phone and started taking screenshots. If Elena thought she could play me for a fool, she was about to learn that this boring husband had a few tricks of his own. Friday morning, I called in sick to work and drove to Murphy's Bar and Grill, where my best friend Derek was nursing his usual breakfast beer. Derek Martinez, ex-cop turned private investigator, had the kind of street smarts that my computer skills couldn't match. You look like hell, Derek said as I slid into the booth across from him. Let me guess. Elena? I showed him the screenshots. His expression darkened with each swipe. Jesus, Nick. How long has this been going on? At least a year, maybe longer. I signaled the bartender for coffee. She's been lying about everything. The Pilates studio is barely breaking even, but she's pulling in serious money from this OnlyFans thing. Money she's been hiding from me. Derek leaned back, processing. What do you want to do about it? I want proof. Real proof. The kind that holds up in divorce court. That's my boy. Derek grinned. I've got some ideas. But first, we need to know more about this Brent character, and we need to document everything. We spent the next hour planning. Derek would run background checks on Brent while I gathered financial records. We'd use GPS tracking, perfectly legal since Elena's car was in both our names, to establish patterns. That afternoon, while Elena was at her legitimate Pilates class, I installed a dashcam in her car. Small, discreet, with cloud backup. If she was meeting Brent, I'd have video evidence. Mrs. Grant, our 70-year-old neighbor, was watering her flowers when I finished with the car. The woman saw everything that happened on our street. Working on Elena's car? She asked, peering over the fence. Just some maintenance, I replied. Then, as if it was an afterthought, Mrs. Grant, you haven't noticed any strange cars in our driveway lately, have you? Elena mentioned someone might be casing the neighborhood. Her eyes lit up. Mrs. Grant lived for neighborhood drama. Well, now that you mention it, there was that silver BMW here Tuesday afternoon. Stayed about 2 hours. I thought it was odd since you were at work. Bingo. Silver BMW. That's definitely suspicious. Maybe you could keep an eye out? Elena worries about these things. Of course, dear. I'll make sure to note any unusual activity. I thanked her and headed inside, knowing that Mrs. Grant would now be watching our house like a hawk. In a small town, sometimes the best surveillance system was a bored neighbor with too much time on her hands. That evening, Elena announced she had a client consultation the next day. Saturday afternoon, probably be gone a few hours. No problem, I said, not looking up from my laptop. I'll probably work on that Henderson account. She kissed the top of my head. You work too hard, Nick. Maybe when business picks up, we can take that vacation to Mexico we talked about. Right. The vacation she'd been saying we couldn't afford while secretly making thousands selling photos online? That would be nice, I managed. Saturday came, and Elena left at noon wearing a dress I'd never seen before. The GPS tracker showed her heading toward downtown, then stopping at Brent's condo complex. My phone buzzed with a notification from the dashcam app. New video uploaded. The footage was crystal clear. Elena parking, checking her makeup in the mirror, walking toward a building entrance where Brent Callahan waited with flowers and a bottle of wine. The timestamp showed 12:47 p.m. 3 hours later, more footage. Elena and Brent in her car, kissing passionately before she drove away. Her custom license plate, Pilates 1, was perfectly visible. I saved everything to multiple cloud accounts and sent copies to Derek. The evidence was mounting, but I wasn't ready to play my hand yet. Elena wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that she wasn't the only one who could keep secrets. Sunday dinner was almost surreal. Elena chatted about her boring weekend, while I nodded and smiled, mentally calculating how much money she'd hidden from me. According to the bank records I'd pulled, she had a secret account with over $40,000. You're quiet tonight, she observed, refilling her wine glass. Just thinking about work stuff, I lied. The Henderson project is more complicated than I expected. Well, don't let it stress you out. Money isn't everything. I nearly choked on my pasta. You're absolutely right, honey. Money definitely isn't everything. If only she knew what was coming. Monday morning brought the phone call I'd been expecting. Elena's voice was tight with barely controlled panic. Nick, we need to talk when you get home tonight. It's important. Everything okay? We need to talk. About us. About our future. I knew what this was. Brent had probably given her an ultimatum, or maybe she was just tired of sneaking around. Either way, Elena was about to make her move. I spent the day preparing. Derek met me at the office with a thick folder of information about Brent Callahan. Real estate fraud allegations, 2 previous affairs with married clients, and a reputation around town that made used car salesmen look trustworthy. Guy's a real piece of work, Derek said. 3 different women have filed complaints about him in the past 2 years. Nothing stuck, but there's a pattern. Perfect. Elena sure knows how to pick them. That evening, I arrived home to find Elena pacing the living room. She'd changed clothes 3 times. I could tell from the discarded outfits on our bedroom chair. Nick, sit down, please. I settled into my usual armchair, the one with the perfect view of her face. What's on your mind? I think we should separate. The words tumbled out in a rush. I've been unhappy for a while, and I think some time apart would be good for both of us. Unhappy? I kept my voice level. This is news to me. What's brought this on? We've grown apart. We want different things. I need space to figure out what I really want from life. Classic cheater playbook. Make it about finding yourself, instead of admitting you've been screwing around. I see. And what kind of separation are you thinking? I'd stay in the house, obviously. The Pilates studio is here, and I can't afford rent somewhere else. You could get an apartment downtown, maybe closer to your clients. And financially? Elena's rehearsed speech kicked in. My lawyer says I'd be entitled to spousal support since I gave up my marketing career to build the studio, and the house should stay with me since it's my primary business location. Her lawyer, that was interesting. You've already talked to a lawyer? Just a consultation. My cousin Madison recommended someone. Madison, the law school dropout who thought she was legally blonde. Nick, I don't want this to get ugly. We can be adults about this. I nodded thoughtfully. You're right. We should handle this maturely. When do you want to start the process? Relief flooded her face. She'd expected a fight. Really? You're okay with this? Elena, if you're unhappy, then we should definitely address that. I want what's best for both of us. Thank you for understanding. I was worried you'd make this difficult. Not at all. In fact, why don't we set up a meeting with both lawyers this week? Get everything out in the open. That would be perfect. I stood and kissed her forehead. I'm going to take a walk, process all this. We'll talk more tomorrow. Outside, I called Derek. She made her move, wants a separation, the house, and spousal support. And? I told her I'd be reasonable. We're meeting with lawyers this week, Derek laughed. You evil genius. She has no idea what's coming. None whatsoever. Think you could arrange for some photos of Brent's car to accidentally end up around town? Maybe at the coffee shop, the gym, places where Elena's friends hang out? Consider it done. This is going to be fun. As I walked through our quiet neighborhood, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Excitement. Elena thought she was playing chess while I was playing checkers. She was about to learn that her boring, predictable husband had been playing an entirely different game. The meeting was set for Thursday afternoon. Elena's lawyer, some slick downtown type named Harrison Webb, had agreed to mediation before filing any papers. Elena was practically bouncing with anticipation. I think this is really the best thing for both of us, she said over breakfast Thursday morning. We can both start fresh. Absolutely, fresh starts all around. She left for her morning class with a spring in her step. I spent the day organizing my evidence into a presentation that would make my corporate clients proud. Financial records, photographs, video footage, and Derek's background research on Brent, all neatly categorized and documented. At 3 p.m., we sat in Harrison Webb's conference room. Elena wore her most conservative dress and minimal makeup, playing the role of struggling small business owner. Webb was exactly what I'd expected. Expensive suit, practiced smile, and the kind of confidence that came from bullying people who couldn't afford to fight back. Mr. Ralston, Webb began, my client has outlined her position. Given her sacrifice of career opportunities to support your household and the modest income from her business, she feels entitled to the marital home and temporary spousal support while she rebuilds her financial independence. I nodded seriously. I appreciate Elena's position, and I want to be fair. Elena smiled. Webb looked pleased with how easy this was going to be. However, I continued, sliding a thick folder across the table, I think there might be some financial information that wasn't included in Elena's disclosure. Webb opened the folder. His face went from confident to confused to horrified in about 30 seconds. What is this? Elena demanded, trying to see the papers. Bank statements, I said calmly. For the account Elena opened 18 months ago, the one with $43,000 in it. Elena's face went white. There are also printouts from her OnlyFans account, I continued, showing monthly earnings between $3,000 and $7,000, and documentation of gifts received from various admirers. Webb was frantically flipping through pages. Mrs. Ralston, did you disclose these income sources? That's not... Nick, how did you... Public records, mostly. Amazing what you can find when you know where to look. I pulled out another folder. This one contains photos and video footage of Elena's relationship with Brent Callahan, including footage from her own car's dashcam. Elena shot to her feet. You were spying on me. I was protecting myself from fraud, I corrected. Which brings us to the final folder. Webb looked like he wanted to run from the room. Tax implications, I announced. Elena's been operating an unlicensed business, accepting unreported income, and committing adultery while planning to defraud me in divorce proceedings. I'm thinking the IRS might be very interested in this case. The room was silent. Elena stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Of course, I said, standing up. I'm still interested in that fresh start we talked about. Elena can keep her secret bank account and her online business. She can even keep Brent if he's still interested once his wife sees these photos. But she'll be doing it all from somewhere else, with her own money and without any claim to mine. I gathered my folders. Elena, you have 24 hours to decide. Sign a clean divorce agreement, or I start making phone calls. Your choice. Webb found his voice. Mr. Ralston, perhaps we can negotiate. The negotiation just ended, I said. Elena wanted to be treated like an adult. This is what that looks like. I walked out of the conference room and didn't look back. Behind me, I could hear Elena starting to cry, and Webb frantically trying to salvage the situation. My phone rang before I reached the parking lot. Derek. How did it go? Like a house of cards in a hurricane, I said. Want to grab a beer and watch the fallout? Wouldn't miss it. Elena didn't come home Thursday night. Or Friday. Mrs. Grant informed me that she'd seen Elena loading suitcases into her car Friday morning, followed by Brent's BMW pulling out of our driveway 20 minutes later. Saturday morning brought a knock on my door. Harrison Webb, looking significantly less polished than he had in his conference room. Mr. Ralston, my client would like to discuss terms. Your client knows where to find me. She's emotional right now. Perhaps we could handle this professionally. I invited him in and poured coffee. Webb pulled out a legal pad covered in notes. Mrs. Ralston is prepared to waive spousal support in exchange for a 50-50 split of marital assets. Counteroffer, I said. Elena takes her car, her business equipment, and her secret bank account. I keep the house, my business, and my retirement accounts. No spousal support either direction. That's hardly equitable. Webb, let me explain something. Your client committed adultery, hid income, and attempted to defraud me. In Maine, that affects asset division. She's also been running an unlicensed business and failing to report income to the IRS. I've got enough evidence to make her life very complicated. I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo Derek had taken the night before. Elena and Brent at a downtown restaurant, very publicly canoodling while his wedding ring sat on the table. Brent's wife received a copy of this morning, along with some other interesting photos. I'm guessing Elena's going to need somewhere new to stay pretty soon. Webb's shoulders sagged. What do you want? Clean divorce. Elena disappears from my life completely. She can keep her OnlyFans money and find somewhere else to run her business. In exchange, I don't file complaints with the IRS, the state licensing board, or Brent's real estate commission. And if she refuses, I smiled. Then she can explain to a judge why she was hiding income while claiming poverty, and to the IRS why she owes back taxes on unreported earnings, and to the licensing board why she was operating a business without proper permits. Webb made notes. I'll present your terms. You do that. And Webb, tell Elena that Mrs. Grant has been very helpful. Turns out she's been documenting unusual activity in the neighborhood for months. Amazing what a concerned neighbor will notice. After Webb left, I called Derek. Brent's wife threw him out last night, he reported. Apparently she'd suspected something for a while. Your photos were just confirmation. And Elena? Staying at that cheap motel on Route 1. Chloe won't take her calls, and Madison's avoiding her since she realized she could lose her law school internship over this mess. Sounds like consequences are catching up. Gets better. Someone, definitely not me, left flyers about Elena's OnlyFans at the Pilates studio. Half her clients canceled this morning. I felt a twinge of something that might have been guilt, but it passed quickly. Elena had made her choices. She'd planned to destroy my life for her own benefit. The fact that her plan had backfired wasn't my fault. Monday brought signed divorce papers. Elena had agreed to every term, probably because Webb had explained her legal exposure. The house was mine, the debts were divided fairly, and Elena was officially someone else's problem. I never saw her pack her things. Derek helped me change the locks, and Mrs. Grant promised to keep an eye on the house. Elena's Pilates equipment disappeared from the garage while I was at work, along with her remaining clothes and personal items. Tuesday evening, I was grilling dinner when my phone rang, unknown number. Nick, it's me. Elena's voice was smaller than I'd ever heard it. Elena, how are you settling in? I'm at my sister's in Boston. Look, I wanted to apologize. What I did was wrong. Yes, it was. I never meant for things to go this far. It just happened, and then I couldn't figure out how to stop. I turned off the grill and sat down. Elena, you didn't just cheat. You planned to destroy my life. You were going to take my house, my money, and my future while lying to everyone about why. I know, I was scared and selfish and stupid. You were all of those things. Silence stretched between us. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? She asked finally. I considered the question seriously. Maybe someday I'll stop being angry, but forgive you? Elena, you showed me exactly who you are. That's not something you apologize away. I understand. Good luck in Boston, I said, and hung up. Derek arrived an hour later with beer and updates. Brent's real estate license is under review, he reported. Turns out those fraud allegations I mentioned, they're being taken more seriously now that his personal life is front-page news. And Elena's business? Going nowhere. Studio's been shut down for permit violations, and her OnlyFans account got reported for tax evasion. She's looking at some serious back taxes and penalties. We drank our beer and watched the sunset from my deck. My deck, on my house, in my life, that was finally my own again. You know what the funny thing is? I said. She could have just asked for a divorce. I would have been hurt, but I would have been fair about the money. Instead, she tried to play you for a fool. Biggest mistake she ever made. Derek raised his bottle. To Elena's education. To fresh starts, I corrected. We drank to that, and to the quiet satisfaction of watching someone's house of cards collapse under the weight of their own lies. 3 months later, Mrs. Grant mentioned seeing Elena drive by the house slowly, like she was checking on something. But she didn't stop, and she never came back. I was okay with that. I'd learned something important about myself during those weeks of building my case and planning my defense. I was a lot stronger and smarter than anyone, including me, had given me credit for. Elena had tried to play chess with someone she thought was playing checkers. She'd discovered too late that I'd been playing an entirely different game, with rules she never bothered to learn. The house felt bigger now, quieter but not lonely. I'd kept Mrs. Grant's number handy, partly for security, and partly because she made excellent cookies and always had the best neighborhood gossip. My business was thriving, my finances were stable, and my future was entirely my own. Elena's betrayal had hurt, but her attempt to destroy me had failed completely. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. Sometimes it's just refusing to let someone else's choices ruin your life. Elena had made her bed with Brent Callahan and her OnlyFans subscribers and her web of lies. Now she got to sleep in it, somewhere else, with someone else's problems. I had my house, my business, my self-respect, and a hard-earned lesson about trusting people who show you who they really are. It was more than enough.